In 9.2b, we are going to continue solve using square root. So example 0 is what we did last class, where if it was x squared equals 25, remember to solve it, we use square root to cancel the squared. And that gave me x equals, and I could get positive 5 or negative 5, which we could write as positive negative 5 if we wanted to do it the short way, or we could write x equals 5 and x equals negative 5 to express our two answers. Next one, square root cancels the squared. X equals, I get a positive and negative answer because it was squared. The square root of 21 is irrational. And does it simplify? I could do 3 times 7, but I don't know the square root of 3 or 7. So I leave it as positive square root 21, negative square root 21. Okay, let's do one more. Square root, x equals, I'm going to get a positive and negative because of the x squared. 24 is irrational, but it does simplify because I could do 4 times 6, so I would get positive negative 2 square root 6, or I would say x equals 2 root 6 and negative 2 root 6. Now the only thing we're going to add today is that the x squared will not be isolated, so you're going to have to isolate the x squared, and then we can use the same steps as before. So if I look at this equation, it says 2x squared minus 29 equals 3. If I were solving this just normally, I would add the 29, and I'm going to still do that because I'm trying to get the x by itself. So I get 2x squared equals 32. I'm going to divide by 2. I get x squared equals 16. Now that the x squared is by itself, it's just like this problem up here, so I'm going to solve it using the same steps I did there. So I'm going to go ahead and square root both sides. And I get x equals 4 and negative 4, or I could say positive negative 4 to write it the short way. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep solving these next ones. Feel free to work ahead of me. The answers are at the bottom. Let's see, 49 divided by 4 is going to stay a fraction, and I'm okay with that. Let's go ahead and square root it and see if it's rational. X equals, I'm going to get a positive and negative answer. Square root of 49 is 7. Square root of 4 is 2. So I actually got positive 7 over 2 and negative 7 over 2, which is rational. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Feel free to work ahead of me and then forward the video to the next example. Okay, positive, negative. The square root of 2 is irrational, so I'm going to leave it as positive square root 2, negative square root 2. It's okay to get irrational answers. Okay, x squared minus 13. I'm going to add the 13. Okay, now that the x squared is by itself, I will do square root. And I'm going to get a positive and a negative answer because of the squared. Square root 20 is irrational. Does it simplify? Well, I could do 4 and 5, so I can make it positive and negative 2 square root 5, and those are my two answers. Let's see, 5x squared equals 5. I'm going to divide by 5. X squared equals 1. The square root of 1 is 1 because 1 times 1 is 1, so I got positive 1 and negative 1. Okay, it's a fraction again, which is okay. Let's go ahead and square root it. Okay, now the square root of 17 is definitely irrational. So I'm going to leave it square root 17. The square root of 9 is actually 3. So even though I have an irrational answer, I was able to square root the denominator, so I'm going to do the best I can to simplify it. So positive and negative square root 17 over 3 are my best answers. Okay, now there was a second time the square root problem we solved last class, and that's when the expression being squared was in parentheses. I still had to cancel the squared first. This is what we did last class. I bring down the x minus 7. When I square root 9, I get 3, but because it was squared, I can do a positive and a negative 3. Okay, now last class we split this up into 2 equations, and you're still welcome to do that, but I'm going to show you the short way for people who are ready for that. Okay, now I can do plus 7 here. Now here's the part you're going to have to think if you would like to do it all at the same time. Now I'm saying I'm doing positive 3 plus 7, and then I'm doing negative 3 plus 7. So if I start with positive 3 plus 7, 3 plus 7 is 10. So one of my answers is 10. Okay, my second answer is using the negative 3. If I do negative 3 plus 7, I get 4. So my answers are 10 and 4. You can do it that way, or you can split it into 2 equations, x minus 7 equals 3 and x minus 7 equals negative 3, if that's easier for you to solve. Okay, let's go ahead and look at B. The method is the same. The square root will cancel this squared. I bring down the x plus 5. The square root of 11 is irrational, and because it was squared, I get a positive and a negative possibility. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5 to solve it. And then normally when we write the answer where part is rational and part is irrational, we put the rational part first. So the negative 5 is first, plus and minus the square root 11. And this is still 2 answers because one of my answers is negative 5 plus square root 11, and the other one is negative 5 minus square root 11, which would be a decimal if I put it in my calculator. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit to it. Okay, just like on the previous example, we want to get the squared part by itself. But this plus 7 is here, and I don't want it to be here. So I have to actually cancel the plus 7 first. So I'm going to subtract 7, so that now I have x plus 6 squared equals 11 minus 7 is 4. Okay, now that it looks like this, I can solve it like I did in A and B. I can go ahead and square root both sides. Square root of 4 is 2, but I'm putting positive and negative because it was squared before. You can split this into x plus 6 equals 2 and x plus 6 equals negative 2 and solve it. Or I can try to minus 6 on both sides from the way it is right now. You just have to be careful. Okay, if I consider positive 2 minus 6 is negative 4, which is one of my answers. Now if I consider negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8, and that's my second answer. I still got 2 answers, and I should get 2 answers if it's a quadratic equation. Okay, let's try the next one. It's x minus 1 squared minus 6 equals 0. So it's this minus 6 that I don't want there. So I'm going to add it to the other side. Okay, now that I have the part that is squared isolated, I can do square root on both sides. And then I can solve using square root. Square root of 6 is irrational. Can I simplify it? I could do 3 and 2, but I can't square root 3 or 2, so that's not going to help. So I'm going to leave it as square root 6. I'm going to add 1. Okay, and then you put the rational part first normally, and the irrational part second, which is the plus or minus square root 6. You don't have to do it in that order. That's just typically how it is written, so I'm going to do it the standard way. But if you have plus or minus root 6 plus 1, that's also correct. Okay, let's look at a couple more, and then I'm going to have you do the practice problems. Okay, let's see. Let's see, I have the x plus 4 squared here. It's this 3 I don't like. Since the 3 is touching, it's 3 times x plus 4 squared. So to cancel it, I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. Three divided by 3 is 1. But now that the squared is isolated, I can solve like normal. Okay, the square root of 1 is 1. And I put positive negative because I could square a positive or a negative to get the same value. Let me subtract 4, or split it up if you prefer that method. Okay, but now I'm going to carefully consider positive 1 minus 4 is negative 3. And if I do negative 1 minus 4, that becomes negative 5. Okay, one more. Let's see. This is the squared part I want to isolate it. I have this and I have this to cancel. So just like a normal equation, that plus 1, let's lose that first. I also don't want the 2 here. Now I can't distribute the 2 because it has to be squared first and then distributed, which is a lot of work and will make it pretty difficult to solve. So we're going to divide the 2 off. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and use square root, and I'm going to solve from there. Okay, my final answer is x equals 3 plus root 7 and x equals 3 minus root 7. Okay, go ahead and go to the practice problems. Check your answers at the bottom or compare your answers with those on the calendar when you finish.